Good morning. All right, so a little more weakness here. And I'm just reading the text there. So clearly sellers have taken control. And we always say, well, to what degree have they taken control? You know, what like one red bar doesn't change the trend, of course. However, up at the top there on the spiders, the most meaningful large red bar since the move up began. We had a meaningful red bar here where prices had gapped up after the turn, but there was really no resistance to the left, or very little, because of the way prices fell. Such a rapid decline leaves that void. And it did make that V bottom versus the retest that historically is the norm. Anyway, it made a higher low and pushed higher. And we had all these little narrow bodied bars and tails and kind of crazy price action going on there. But still, nonetheless, we had, topping tails there. This was intraday. We had looked at this in one of the MT lives. And, there was the gap up and the gap down, leaving this bearish island reversal, which went absolutely nowhere. And then it gapped up and then went higher. So it was a lot of crazy price action. And overall, over the last several weeks, it's just been chopping sideways and closing in about the same area. So we've got 2 days of trading to go on here. But this big red bar happened on a retest. And this is that red arrow is when our internals told us time to be careful. It had never given us a signal to be careful. We're always careful, but this is where the internals lined up and said, hey, now you better really be careful. And so now we got this move down. There was the selling into the close. And so this is what we call major support, swing low defined by a low with 3 higher lows to the left and the right. And then it made a peekaboo here above the high. And now it's come down to that major support. And so we define an uptrend as everyone else does. That just looks at price, higher highs and higher lows. And that's what we had here, higher highs and higher lows within a downtrend on a higher time frame. So shorting opportunities, the odds of them increase when you have 2 time frames in alignment. So looking at it from the daily time frame perspective, right, shorting opportunities were not going to work out as well as they should start to. So we see that prices pre-market here are they poke below that major support level. So if we get a close below here, and even I think if we get a push down anywhere near this 275 area, even if it closes back up, the trend's going to be broken. And, the dot connectors, that connect the dots, well, their trend line broke here, and that didn't work. And maybe some of them drew it so perfectly so that this touched when it came back up, and they got their sell signal with their ridiculous trend line extensions into the future that predicts price support and resistance. We just look to the left. We keep it simple here. So break of major support, the trend is over. Done. It no longer meets the definition of higher highs and higher lows. And the next question and the thought process is, well, where is it going to go now? Well, the next reference point is right down here. So that should be the next stopping point. And at that point, we have to always have 2 scenarios. Well, if it can break below here, it's going to start picking up some momentum to the downside. However, if it holds here and starts to go sideways for a few days, and it begins to build some support, or sometimes I refer to it as repairing the damage, maybe it can come back up, maybe a head and shoulders. Who knows what's on the right side of the chart? Nobody. But if we just simply look to the left and, and say, well, where's major support? Where's the next pivot? Is it in an uptrend? Has it violated that uptrend? If it has, it's then in a sideways trend. At one point, does it become a downtrend? So on and so forth. And we mark off those reference points that are to the left to help guide us throughout the trading day. So looking at this intraday, right, the 60-minute chart where the high occurred, That's a pretty big move in a relatively short amount of time. That's where prices began to stabilize yesterday at that major support level. So we'll see what today brings, as we always do. But that's the first critical level here, where we need to see whether prices can hold this level or whether they're going to go down. And so you can see the little jiggles that are going on here. This chart is live. These are on what I call the day charter, 9:30 to 4 o'clock. And of course, what we're all going to be interested in at the end of the day tomorrow, why am I hiding part of the chart? Am I hiding part of the chart? Oh, the secret part. Well, that's in a very expensive seminar, Alex, where we actually show what's on the right side of the chart where no one else can see it. Anyway, so on the weekly time frame, there is no doubt that at the end of last week, this looked like it was going up. Right? We had a topping tail that was totally ignored. That was a breakout failure that on that day would have been, this thing's going down. No, it's not. And so at this point, it's like, well, that looks like it's going up. And so, again, no, it's not. And in the end here, we've just got a sideways congestion over the several weeks. And so where does this end on Friday? Is it a red bar closing below this low, which we can only think it's going down from there. I said down to where? Down to here. And then we just take it step by step, right? That's just the process. Futures. For a topping tail to be ignored, does the next bar have to close above it? No, it doesn't have to close above it. So what you need to see, Steve, is here's the topping tail that we would say was ignored on this day. It was ignored. This even broke below. It broke below the low of the topping tail, and it gapped down and it recovered and came up. So it was ignored for the moment. And as time goes on, we have to begin to ignore the topping tail as a signal. Now, this week, assuming that this bar looks like this on Friday, well, we could say, yes, it ignored it on this particular bar, but that was the beginning of the distribution process that was obvious to us. Make sense? So we have to ignore it. We have to ignore it on this week because that's the only sensible, logical thing for us to do. Because if we don't ignore it for the moment and then prices start going up, you're just, you got your head in the ground like an ostrich and you're in denial, maybe because you're short and now you're getting your butt kicked. That's what happens. And that's why I created bar by bar analysis for two reasons: to keep my head based on the moment of what's happening and not go into denial about something I don't want to happen. And in addition, sometimes you think, this thing can't go any higher or lower. And meanwhile, there's no signal on the chart to suggest otherwise. So with all the things that we like to pump ourselves up to think we know so much, in reality, all we know is what's on the chart and what we understand in multiple time frames. And if you can follow that objectively, you're going to be much better off than trying to predict, what's happening and prove to yourself that you're so good at predicting these things. Anyway, NASDAQ lost a little momentum nonetheless. Uptrend, higher highs, higher lows, still in an uptrend. And so far holding yesterday's low, inside day so far, beginning of a red bar, still the strongest, holding this low here. Now, if this starts to break, we don't know what's going to happen today, but if this starts to break, because it was the strongest, it has got the most room to fall back down to the major support level. And that is the advantage, or I guess disadvantage, of being the strongest at some time, because when the turn comes, you then can become the weakest. That's because that's where the profits have been and the money flows out of. Questions on YouTube. I'm from India. Can you say the trend of the market in the near future, Indian market follows US market. Well, I'd have to look at that, the Indian market, but the same concepts apply that I'm talking about here. You know, whether you're trading the Indian market, the euro, the British pound, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything that I am explaining here is applicable to anything you can put and chart, okay? So commodities, stocks, futures, anything. Okay. Canal in Espanol. I don't know what that means. Papu. Someday maybe I'll learn to read Spanish. The trend has changed from bullish to bearish. Well, no. So if we go back, a little lessons here, we go back to here and you get the break of a trend, it doesn't go from bullish to bearish. It goes from bullish to neutral, right? This isn't bearish yet. You love Fibonacci's, Joss? Well, then get the hell out of here because you don't belong here. I'm kidding. I hope to convert you. All right, let me get going here so Dan can get to the open positions. All right, this is still an uptrend. So far, it's holding here. Whatever support is actually here, actually little to none. It's creating support. So we have an intraday support level at this point. We'll see if it can hold that and maybe move up today, right? We go into every day looking at what is and then what might happen objectively. So this has created a support point. It's retested it. So far, it's holding. These two pivot highs here have created resistance. That by definition is creating a trading range. And so now, which way is it going to go? Well, we don't know. That's in an uptrend. You can say, hey, odds are with the bulls on this side. But we have other markets where that's not the case. So we've got conflicting information. That being said, if it clears here, odds are it's going up there. And it still would be an inside day, right? You can see the lines here. It still would be trading inside of yesterday's range. And if by, let's say 10 o'clock, this is going sideways and it breaks the low, bombs away to the downside. Maybe then this bar becomes a big red bar down to the bottom of that green bar. All right, Qs, right? Same thing. Down here, you can see where it is. 218 went to 217. It's trading, you know, in this range here. Same story. Russell. So this made a lower high. So we don't define this as major support because it didn't make a higher high. So it's making a lower high and a lower low. We've got some intraday support, yesterday's low, which here it is. It's actually below that right now. And so the assumption is that potentially, well, it should go down here. Since it's violated this pivot, but not major support, this is where you're going to find the majority of buyers willing to step up. And if this was to flow down there today, let's assume we get a nice down day today, that would be pretty big. You can be sure buyers are going to step up at that swing low. And you can see where it is right there on the weekly, but this is going to be a big, nasty red bar if that's the case. And we still got 2 days. So far, we'll see what happens with that turn. Let's look at the, let's go to the Russell futures. And you can see they're breaking below yesterday's low there. And so, downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. Looking for it to go lower. Dow futures, right on that major support point there, holding. Went under yesterday's low. So that's a significant point. And you can see how it hit that. Amazing, right? Just look to the left without any fibs and trend lines and other squiggly lines. And lo and behold, magic number, buyers step up there. Now, below here, I'm not saying it's going to waterfall down here, but at that point, there's going to be nothing to stop it from going down there. And so at that point, it would just be assessing it day to day and looking at the hourly trend. Does it stay down and so forth? Diamonds, same story, break here, right? Poking down toward the same point. So we look at the day chart, look at the ETFs, we look at the futures, we see how things line up, we look how markets line up with each other. And that brings us to our bias is, look, if I've got one market like the Qs that are in an uptrend like this and all the others are breaking down, well, this one might hold that major support and still show the relative strength, but odds are the others are going to drag this down too. Okay. Transports, this doesn't move pre-market, but look, we had a green bar over here where it looked like things were going to lift off and it failed. And so now transport's breaking below here. There isn't going to be much to stop it. And you can see right, head and shoulders top, suggests it's going down to the lows here. So with all of that being said, assuming that this weakness actually follows through to the downside, things are going to get ugly. You better have your position and money management rules in order and your willingness to abide by them, and just go with the flow with the shorts and that are setting up. And if you find things that are on their own page, that's terrific. And you know, there's going to be less tendency to find those things, you know, in a market that is firing on all cylinders to the downside. Do I think airlines will recover and continue going? I think at some point they'll continue, Mark, because we're all going to fly around the world as this Corona catastrophe comes to an end.
No, Greg, he's saying not recover.
Well, I think they will recover. I don't know that they're going to recover today, but I think, yes, they will recover. All of them may not recover. They may need to consolidate, and some might go out of business. That's just the way things are in a situation like this. There are going to be restaurants that aren't going to open up, and all sorts of businesses that are not going to survive. So that's just the way things are, kind of like evolution, I guess. You know, the weakness, you know, kills off the weaker, and the strong survive, and whatever. DAL for a monthly paycheck. I mean, I can put DAL for a monthly paycheck? It's so low. I think you can put your monthly paycheck into DAL over time, Mark, and see what's left over in a few months. And being a little comical here because it's in a downtrend and it looks nasty. Will DAL be one of the survivors? I don't know. You know, we've seen General Motors go out of business and come back, but we can assume that probably one or two of them are going to go out of business and some will be stronger. But why you want to hang up your money in something like this when it showed no ability to get turned around yet? So all yours, Dan.
All right, thanks. Yeah, we're actually short 3 airlines and all doing fantastic. Ed, no, on that one, on Boeing, because it's down a little bit, I just used the closing price. So, which means we're probably only going to get filled on a bounce. So let's see, airlines. Yeah, we're short save with a put debit spread. Jeff, it does. I sent that out in our text to our swing letters that I'm going to be watching it. We were talking about it yesterday until the close also. All right, save, love, and AAL. We have a debit put spreads. They all look good. Delta looks lower. I was looking at United looks lower. I mean, the sector was horrible. We only have one open position in the weekly, and we did a call spread yesterday on J&J. It looks like it's opening flat here in a down market. But, you know, it's been a strong stock, strong sector. So I wasn't crazy about shorting it, but you know, we were just calling a short-term top there. Let's continue with the swing ladder. We're actually, you know what, Greg? We are 100% short. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 open positions. Every one of them is short biased. Wow. AES, we're short the stock. AIZ, short the stock. We're in trail mode. Hasbro covered put, which is short stock, short out of the money put. HST, short stock in trail mode. Love mentioned McDonald's covered put. Papa Mike, we bought a put into the close yesterday. WFC, we're in trail mode, short stock. It looks great. XYL, short stock and trail mode. It's disappointing, Greg. Look at our JP Morgan. I said low 80s was my target. Everyone was laughing at me. And that one little, we kept a really tight stop, and that one little blip hit us yesterday. Darn it. That was a nice trade. Ludwig Coke. It's too close to support. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of nice short setups. MDB long. I don't buy Lou. Anything that's up 10 bars in a row with a big old long-legged doji bar. No, thank you. Not me. T-Doc, there's no pattern. Lou, tell me what the pattern is. That's step one in our approach. Tell me what the compelling pattern is on the time frame you're trading. If you cannot answer that, then I don't want to hear about it. Move on. So, okay, wrong symbol. Let's look at gappers here. Wow. And we were tempted to put that in the advisory, and then it gapped up on Monday. Nice move. India, I've read in the paper. That they're filing for bankruptcy. So it's on the pink sheets, which is why it's not trading here, but you can see it's trading at 51 cents. Virtue at earnings, no good volume. I can't tell what it's doing. Cisco is up 43 bucks, but no pattern at earnings. T-Con, it gapped up and now it's just slopping around, so I got no interest. STE, it's no pattern, you're gone. MGNX gapping down to 21 bucks. This obviously, it looks like a bio Corona stock, the way it's whipping all over the place. I'm not messing with that. If you did, it would just be a day trade. Surely not swinging it. ONM, recent IPO, February. I don't like all the overlapping bars though, and it's gapping down, no pattern. This had a wide range igniting, and it's holding strong. Now it's up 1649. It's gapping too big though. EQM 1750. It's gapping a resistance, no interest. Boeing, I like as a call spread or short. Stephen, when signals get proposed, are they potential credit spreads or day trades? Wait, well, Stephen, good question. Number one is, I have no idea unless the person asking tells me. But number two, the answer is kind of what I just said a few moments ago, that everything's a compelling pattern. So if it's a compelling pattern, we'll consider it for multiple types of trades: day trade, swing trade, option trade, stock trade, scalp, whatever. Sean. Yeah, yeah, Sham, I saw in Barron's had an article about the airlines a while back about their financial ability to weather the storm, and AAL got rated pretty bad on the list, as well as their service. I personally don't like that airline at all. Allo, what do we got? 37 bucks. Bullish, but gap's too big. $31 stock, gap at $7. AIZ, we're still short this. CRK gapping down 440. Wow, that's gapping way the heck down here. It's not my type of trade, but if you get a double bottom, you could get a day trade long. 15 bucks. Look at this daily chart. Do you all know the whack-a-mole game? That's exactly what this looks like, a pump and dump stock. Pump, whack, pump, whack, pump, whack. They must have a very good marketing department in the pump and dump department. Wow. So where's the SEC? Where's the SEC on every one of those market opens? See who the sellers are. 61 bucks, gapping down. Sell setup weekly. McGraw, let's keep an eye on Jack for a call spread. It had earnings, so volatility will be up. YouTube's asking about Charlie India short. Yeah, under the low, topping pattern, breakout failure, sell setup weekly. It has some a lot of horizontal support over here, so that's the only difficulty. The trades that we like better have cracked support more decisively, like McDonald's, Triple M. See these have decisively cracked. So that's the only hesitancy in Charlie India. It still looks good. But it might be more of a grinder down. This thing's been a beast. Fitch, no pattern. EXP. Looks lower, but it's extended. We'll come back to it. Oh, BAM. Those are next on my list there, Ludwig. Yeah, BAM's another good example, as opposed to Charlie India. Breakout failure. Yeah, day trade short. Day trade short. Boeing upper right here. The midpoint's only 37 cents now. I said try to get filled on a call spread around the closing price of 48, so that's not filled yet. Hey, whiskey down $6. Maybe this is getting close for our call spread.